Yes.
Real quick, I was trying to order some note cards off of Michael Lewis. Is the minimum 100? Like we have to buy 100 of them?
It
change the
depends
numbers.
on the what you're ordering. It depends on whether you're having them shipped to the office or mailed out. Sometimes it varies a little bit. Usually I think the minimum on most things is 100. Sometimes it's 200.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Any other questions before we dive in? I really thought I had hit the record button already when we first started talking about the contract, but just don't tell anybody that didn't show up today that we talked about that at the beginning. Although now it's recorded, so they'll all know.
Edit it out.
Not that sophisticated. All right.
I'll know too, because I jumped on 3 minutes late and I'm like, dang it, what did I miss?
So,
And I heard you now. Repeat, no.
So today we had, see, I still have my sticky, just so you guys know, it does make it with me back and forth. It's a very handy place right here on my computer. There were some questions about like how to use showing time. And I thought, well, it'd be probably good to cover like how to do showings in general, right? So let's talk about that. We have a buyer that we met at an open house or wherever, and now they're like, I want to go see properties. Number one, Sam hit it right on the target that you should get that buyer broker agreement signed. Generally, I would recommend having a buyer consultation appointment. So I would usually try to start my buyer relationship with that buyer consultation appointment, where we're having a conversation, digging deeper into their motivation, into their time frame, into anything that would prevent them from moving forward right now, or if they're officially ready, we would talk about the pre-approval process. And in my buyer presentation, I'm going to go through the whole purchase process. Like, here's what to expect. It's on average like 30 days. Sometimes it's 17, sometimes it's 45, but on average, once we enter the contract, right, we're going to go through that whole thing. My buyer presentation is in the PC Peeps folder. You're welcome to look at that. We talk about the loan process. We talk about what title and escrow does. We talk about inspections, what kind of money they need to have available for those, what the basic inspections cover. We talk about the appraisal. We talk about the contingencies that we have in the contract to protect their deposit. We talk about the deposit and what's expected there to make sure they have funds available, right? Trying to cover it all up front. We talk about after the inspections that we can ask for repairs if they're deal breakers, that's what we're looking for, things that would cause us to cancel the contract. So we have all those conversations, and that's where I would have them sign the buyer broker agreement. And again, that's really truly outlining my responsibility to them, setting the expectations and connecting them into me. At the end of my buyer packet, I do have a buyer loyalty agreement, which is usually what I have my buyer sign. I do feel like it's a better practice to have them sign the CAR form, because the loyalty agreement really doesn't protect you in any way, shape, or form. It just creates that like commitment. If somebody were to ask them what they signed, they'd be like, yeah, I signed something. But it doesn't lock them into that, hey, Melissa and I went and saw some properties, and then Melissa's like, I'm done working with you, Amy. And then she turns back around and writes an offer with the seller, right? It doesn't protect you in that instance where that buyer broker agreement does. It really sets you up for success and set you up for a minimum commission. It's also
Amy?
Yes.
Question. Do you wait to see if they're pre-approved before you do all of this, or do you?
No, absolutely not. I wouldn't wait to sit down with them until they're pre-approved. Oftentimes at that meeting, I'm passing off my list of lenders to them. I'm creating that relationship, that trust, that bond with them, so that when I hand them my lenders, they're actually going to call the ones that I recommend instead of calling Loan Depot. Okay. So
Amy, how do you present your list of lenders? Is that, do you have a document? Do you have a few phone numbers that you share? What does that look like?
I have a document. It's part of my buyer presentation package.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And
what's wrong with Loan Depot? No.
All right. I don't want them calling USAA or Navy Fed or, whatever.
Hey, I have a question, and I'm sorry if this is like out of the order that what we're talking about, but because you said showing time. So what is like protocol? Like, what is when you when you want to show somebody a house and like on Barry's, it doesn't say like you showing time, or like sometimes it just says like go. Like, what if I wanted to show somebody a house? And I mean, I typically message the listing agent to see if it's okay to go, but like, what if it's like a last minute thing and we don't get like confirmation back that it's okay to go show like their property? Like, are we still able to go and just like open the lockbox and show them, or should we wait until we hear back from like the listing agent that it's okay to go see it?
I will answer that question here in a minute. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right.
I did have a question on with the pre-approved, because
Yes.
ultimately going to show, I mean, granted, in some points of this pandemic, you can even go show certain properties without being pre-approved.
Yes.
So like, I mean, that's still like the highly recommend, make sure they're pre-approved before you start showing homes.
Yes.
or
So
should you-
before I start showing homes, absolutely, they're
Oh.
going to be pre-approved.
Okay, got it.
Sitting down to have the buyer consultation, that doesn't, to me, it doesn't make a difference whether they're pre-approved or not.
Got it. Okay.
There is in the Ignite toolkit, I'm playing with my flooring. In the Ignite toolkit, there is a buyer questionnaire that they recommend that you do prior to sitting down with them, just so you make sure their motivation is there, that you make sure that they kind of understand. And I wouldn't necessarily, maybe I have bad practices. I wouldn't necessarily not meet with a buyer based on their answers to that. It's just going to help me be more set up and clear in what direction we're going. If they're like, oh yeah, I've got a lease in place through July and there's no way I can break it, they will actually charge me the entire rent that's due through July. They're gonna be like, well, we're obviously not going to go look at properties today. Where we want to look at properties is we probably want to start like the end of May, beginning of June, because the 30-day close of escrow, most sellers are wanting a 29-day rent back. Like, that sets you up for success, right? I'm still going to sit down with them and have that buyer consultation, go through the process, make sure they understand it, make sure they don't have any questions, talk about what kind of finances they're going to need in order to purchase a home, to make sure that they've, especially first-time home buyers, that they are preparing themselves. We may even talk about, hey, like if we're looking at the 600,000 mark, like your approximate payment's going to be around this mark. And you may want to, your rent's probably less than that. We may want to go ahead and start pretending to live off that, like set aside that full payment, make your rent payment and set aside the extra for your home purchase, right? Like, practice living on that budget. How does it feel before you're locked into that? Okay, so it's a good time to have those type of conversations. So again, I'm going to do the buyer questionnaire, understand their motivation, kind of where they're at before I sit down with them. But then that's going to just tailor how I sit down with them and how I move them forward. Okay. And once we've sat down with them, once they're pre-approved, then we're going to go show properties. Now, I will say that on occasion, like, let's say we meet somebody in an open house or somebody calls us randomly online, be really careful of the random online calls. Make sure they're safe and they are who they say they are. But occasionally I will meet them at a property and show them one property before I know whether they're completely pre-approved or not. Okay. You may be like, Amy, why would you ever do that? Well, because sometimes that helps you to build that relationship. It's a good foot in the door. Let me go meet you in person. I feel like face-to-face is the best way to communicate with people and meet with people. And some people are a little hesitant. They don't understand how the process works. That first, like, let's go see that property that you're interested in. There's been times that we've written offers on that first property and that's all I ever showed them. And there's been other times that then we backtrack after that first property and come back and do the buyer presentation and talk about what to expect and make sure they get pre-approved, or maybe recommend they use a different lender or whatever that might be. So on rare occasions, now the reason I say like, be careful is that it could be a security thing. So if you're going to go show a property to somebody you don't know, I do recommend like bringing somebody along with you, or at least letting like a significant other or somebody know where you're going to go and what property you're going to show. And like, hey, I'm at the property, they just showed up, and hey, I'm done. So that way we just make sure that you don't get held hostage or anything. I've yet to lose any agents to a buyer, but I should say a fake buyer, but it's never a bad idea to be cautious. Okay, get a taser, get some pepper spray.
Thanks, Heather.
Okay, so So once we're getting ready to show properties, now you're like, now what the heck do I do, right? By the way, little side note, here's I did some postcards through Command. So these are a little cheaper than Michael Lewis, but they're also not 5x7. They're like 3x4. So I'll have those in my office if you want to come and see the quality and what those look like. They're the ones that you can like select the neighborhood and like send out. So if you wanted to see those are there. Why I glanced at them and I'm thinking about it, just throwing that out there.
Did you
You
print
never know
all
what you're gonna
those?
get from me. What?
Did you have those printed yourself?
I had them printed and sent out through Command. So Command.
Oh, through
actually
Command,
sent
everything
me-
through Command?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so now to get to Maciel's question, now you're in Barry's and you're like, hey, my clients want to go see some properties. How do we even do this? So let's go in here. We're just gonna go to new listings on the market. Because
I will say for the first time, so I went to go show my client's property and it said like you showing time. I'm like, but I must say it was like super easy to use, but
Yep.
I was just, which I thought was really cool, but I was just wondering also about like if you didn't see that it said use showing time, like what the protocol was.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm gonna select just some properties here. I don't know what they are, but let's say these were the properties that my buyer wanted to go see. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna add them to a cart. So I'm gonna hit add to cart. I'm gonna go add to new cart, and I'm gonna create a new cart name and test cart. And just for the record, if you have several carts in there, if you add little like asterisks and exclamation points and stuff, then it shows up at the top. I need to clean up my carts. But anyways, usually I would be like, it's Martha showing 2/1/22 or whatever. So I know those are the properties that I showed to Martha on the 22nd. Right. So that's normally how I work my carts. To then go find that cart. The reason I like carts is that it groups everything together. So here's my test cart that I created today. I can click on that and all the properties that my buyer wanted to see are right there in the cart. Right? Makes it super simple to go back and find them, pull them up from your phone if you're at the properties. If you open your Barry's app, you go to listings, that's where you'll find your carts. You can pull up the list of properties there as well. It makes it really easy to access the information. These were just random properties that I chose. So as we look at this one here, in the private remarks, this is showing instructions, generally speaking. This one says, go and show lockbox on gas meter, open house, this submit offers by here. Sellers reserve the right to accept an offer before deadline. Questions, call, text listing agent. One room was converted to a dining room. It may be converted back, right? That's our private information. So that's not the information that the public sees. That's just information that we as agents are able to see. And that's usually where you're going to find your showing instructions. So this one says go and show. So on this one, I wouldn't set it up through showing time. I usually only use showing time if they say to use showing time, because other agents, they just won't respond. This one's go and show, which means we don't actually have to give any notice to the agent at all. To address Maciel's point, yeah, absolutely. I would still text the agent and be like, hey, Manny, just a heads up. I'm planning on showing your property today in about an hour. I just wanted to let you know. I'll let you know how it goes after we're done. Hope you're having a great day, right? I'm just wanting to build that rapport and just give them a heads up. In case they forgot something and forgot to update this, that it wasn't okay to go show the property. Maybe somebody's visiting and staying in the house unexpectedly or something, and they forgot to update Barry's. I have walked in on enough people that weren't supposed to be home that I don't mind letting the agent know that I'm going to go show their property. It also helps to build that rapport, that communication, right? We decided to go right on this. They're gonna be like, hey, wow, Amy really communicates. She's good at this. She even let me know that she was going to go show it. Like, that was super nice. So I usually just still send a text message. I won't usually ask for a response if it says go and show. I won't say, is that okay? I'll just be like, hey, just a heads up. I'm going to go show the property, about 4 o'clock today or whatever time that is. Okay. So this one's a go and show, lockbox on gas meter. So again, no obligation. We could be out showing properties. My client may be like scrolling, be like, hey, I saw this other property. Can we go see that one? I'm gonna pull it up. It says go and show. I'm gonna be like, yeah, absolutely. Let's go check it out. Okay. Let's see this one here. Easy to show with 2-hour notice. Please use the showing time link on the MLS to schedule or call listing agent. So this one would prefer that you use showing time. Okay, and you don't have to do it through the MLS if you don't want to. That link, anytime you can call showing time directly, or you can use the app, or you can go online. It's all the same. Okay, there's no special thing that happens when they use the showing time link. Okay, and we want to make sure this one has 2-hour notice. Okay, so if my client called me, I'm like, hey, can we go see this at 11? And be like, no, we can't. We can go see it at 12:30. But I have to wait for confirmation.
Right. So also for showing time, it's like, because I wasn't sure when I used it, like how quick, like if it's just like you pick the time slot and then you're good to go. But I think the agent like had texted me back, or I called her or something like that, and she was like, oh, I'm like constantly checking my email. So just for other people, I guess, to know, you do have to get confirmation that it's okay when you pick a time slot, right?
Yeah. So if on this one, let's say that I was setting up showings for tomorrow, I'm going to do it through showing time and not do anything else, because that's what the agent has requested. Well, she's also said either or. But if it's like literally I'm trying to get it shown at 12:30 today, which is 2-hour notice, I'm going to still send that request through showing time. And then I'm probably going to turn around and text the agent and be like, hey, I sent the request through showing time. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I know we're really close to that 2-hour time frame. So I just wanted to double check and make sure that you saw the request to see if we could see it today at 12:30. Right. So I'm just going to follow up either with a phone call or a text message.
Help desk.
So either way, you're gonna go see the house.
I'm going to go see that house.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, perfect. I like
And
how
the
you-
only way I would double up like that is if I hadn't gotten a response back from showing time in a while. And like I said, I was setting up the showing for way in advance, or if it was really short time frame, then I'm going to shoot the text over or give a call.
And I thought on showing time, I thought I saw that if it could be blocked out, like, is that?
Yeah. So
Okay.
showing time, if they don't want overlapping appointments, and we'll dig into showing time here in a minute, but if they don't want overlapping appointments, then any appointment time slots that are already booked will show up as blocked out. You won't be able to book that time. Or if it's 2-hour notice, we can set that up in showing time too, so that if I went into showing time to try to request an appointment today, it wouldn't actually say the first appointment was available until 12:30.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. There are like sometimes even when it's like 2-hour notice, let's say we're like out and about, my client's like, hey, I really want to see that. And they're getting ready to like leave town or be gone, or I can't wait around 2 hours. I will on occasion reach out to the agent and be like, hey, I just got a call from my client. They're going to be in the area today. They were hoping to be able to see your listing over there on Whispering Pines or Whispering Oak, whatever this is, Eastwood. I lied. I know it's only an hour notice, but is there any way we could get in at 11:30? Right? It's okay to ask. I always admit that, hey, I saw on the MLS it was a 2-hour notice. I know this is short notice. You requested 2, but is there any way we can get in? Because sometimes they can work that out for you. So never hesitate to ask. Just be nice about it. All right, 413 Elizabeth, the showing instructions are: do not disturb tenant in unit on alley. Feel free to walk vacant portion of lot on Elizabeth. Studio is rented, right? Professional pictures of studio and lot coming. Tenant pays all utilities, rents, no show until after. Okay, no show until offer accepted, right? So that means, hey, we don't get to see this property without an offer. So we can go cruise the lot, but we can't go inside.
Those pictures would be amazing.
They're gonna suck, and it's gonna take a
Oh,
while.
he was just talking about that one this morning on the NASCAR call. He said
Yep.
it just came back on the market.
Yep.
One photo.
We have one
Who's
photo.
gonna- Who's gonna do that?
It's an investment property. So this is set up where you can have like 3 units on this property. They
Yeah.
actually have approved plans for that 3 unit.
Mm.
So somebody, if they're really interested in doing this, or this falls, on the 550, and they're like, hey, I love that Elizabeth Street. Which people show up on Elizabeth Street all the time when they're trying to make it to my house. It's road, people, road. No. Somebody may be like, oh, I've always wanted to live near downtown. I really want that house. It's 2-1, it's cute. Absolutely. Let's write an offer and then we can schedule time to go see it. They just don't want that tenant being inconvenienced 3,000 times. Right. So that's why. So it's not that scary. As long as you've got contingency in place and a contingency for viewing the property, you can add that. Like, offer contingent on viewing interior property is what you would put in the other terms. And so it's not a big deal. Like, okay, it took you an extra like 15 minutes to drop the offer to submit it so that you could go see this property. Not a big deal if your client's really interested. Okay, so this one we're not going to show. No show. Well, we could still plug it in there and go look at the lot. I'm glad I picked ones that have very wide array of showing
Yeah,
instructions.
lots.
All right, weekend showings only, Saturday and Sunday shown by appointment, call agents, leave cards, send offers. There you go. So we can only see this one on the weekend. So if we're trying to see it today, it's not gonna happen.
But if you had someone from out of state leaving tomorrow.
I would call the
then you
agent.
just call the agent.
I would
and
call the
give them
agent.
circumstances. Got it.
So, yep, and I would be like, hey, my clients, they've been in town all week looking at properties. We haven't found anything that looks like something they wanted, but this property that you just had come up on the market, it's an exact match, and all the things that didn't work in the other properties, this one has. Is there any way to potentially get into it before the weekend? They leave tonight. And I'm gonna cry, like shed a tear and try to be convincing. Okay, so yeah, absolutely. Just because it says the rules in here doesn't mean we can't ask for an exception to that. I wouldn't do it every time and make sure the circumstances really truly
Dire.
warrant that. Yeah.
Because you never know. One day you might have the listing and they might need the same favor from you.
Absolutely. Okay. It's a fun game. Oh,
Nice.
let's see. Call listing agents. It's a PUD. Oh, we had the conversation in the group me yesterday about like condos versus PUD. Acorn's a PUD. The saying goes, if it's a PUD, you own the mud.
Yeah. There you go, folks.
There you go. You'll remember that
I'll remember
forever.
now. Oh, boy.
You're welcome.
Okay, what was that?
Okay, so we had a conversation in the group yesterday. about
condos.
Condo versus the PUD, and on a PUD, you own the mud, which is why
What's a PUD?
it's a planned urban development. So it's like a townhome.
Okay.
A townhome is a PUD. And it means that you own the mud, which means it's a single unit just attached to the other units, and it qualifies for all the different financing types.
Okay. So if it's a PUD, you own the mud.
If it's a PUD, you own the mud.
Okay, got it.
Okay. This one just says call for access. So super simple there. Really easy, super cute little condo. So we're gonna call for access. Okay.
Every time I see the LA, I laugh because I was doing open house and someone came in, they wanted to see one of Hannah's properties. And so I'm looking, reading thing, and it was like, call LA, and that's all it said. And I was just like, and I had already done that. And it was my first time ever doing it. And I was just like, I was all, okay. And so I tried calling my mentor at the time and all that stuff. And then I called my mother-in-law, what the heck does LA stand for? And she's like, listing agent. I'm like, oh, okay, I've already done that. Like, why didn't they spell it out?
Why did they help me?
All
All right, this one is showing time. Set it up, request the appointment through showing time. Again, even though it says call, you don't have to call showing time. You can set it up online or on the app usually. Okay. So that one's super simple there. And then they did here the primary showing. It's got the showing contact up here. So if it ever says like call tenant or call owner or call Sue, Usually Sue's number is going to be up here in the showing contact. And our last one of our list is lockbox to be installed to 1. Use the entrance through the back gate. Text this phone number for access. So I would text this number and wait for a response. Okay, so wide array of random things to pay attention to. This one is a single-story condo on Hemlock. Is it actually a condo? All right, so let's look at this one. This will be a fun game. My guess is it is because I think these are probably upstairs units, but let's look. We're going to come down here to the APN number and pull up the APN number. Can't remember if these Hemlock ones or not. This one has a lot for. This one's tricky. See, it has its own tax ID number, but it has an alternate APN, which leads me to believe that maybe it is actually a condo.
I had a friend that actually, I think, lived in those same places, and she said it was a condo.
Condo, yeah, and land use over here is condominium, not townhome or PUD. So this one is probably actually a condo, which means that it probably is not VA or FHA approved because there's only like one in Vacaville that are VA and FHA approved. If we wanted to find out for sure, this subdivision should be the name of the community. And it should, as you scroll down, wherever it talks about the HOA down here, it should tell you the association name is not CNC Property Management. What a fail. All right. I didn't say that. All right. So it should be Northridge would be my guess. So if we went to VA approved, there's actually more VA approved condos than there are FHA approved condos. FHA. I really think it's this one right here.
Okay, so I think Raquel and is it Tara or Tara? We're talking about this in the group meet yesterday, I think. So that's where to find it besides asking lenders, or is that just like a safe place to go first?
This is a safe place to go.
Okay.
Vacaville, California. And we could always take out, like, instead of doing the city, you could always do the county. You can spell the county. And then you'd hit submit.
Was
Not-
that LGY or IGY.va.gov?
I'm going to go with LGY
Okay.
for
Thank you.
loan guarantee. So it doesn't say anything's found, so it's not approved or not approved. It just isn't helpful at all. If we came down here and put Vacaville, let's see. Yeah, maybe there's none. Hold on, we're gonna come down here. Oh, not the one I wanted. It jumped. Hate it when it does that. This one.
So those apartments that are going in over by One Lake are going to be low income apartments
Okay,
next to that really nice new housing subdivision. How do you think that's going to play out?
yeah, you know, it is what it is.
More opportunity for my buyers. That's what it is. No, just kidding.
That means a lot of those properties are come up for sale. All right, so let's go. These are FHA approved. I'm just seeing what comes up there. There's all the FHA approved condos in Vacaville, and it like this one's expired. in 2010. This one was rejected. This one's approved. This one's rejected. So it's really still only this one cute little approved El Dorado on the park, which is the one off Elmira on Del Rio. And those are also, at least they used to be VA approved. Hold on. It irritates me when that happens. All right, let's go VA. This search, I've gone here multiple times and I really think it is the correct one, but I haven't gotten anything to pull up on it. So let's try again. There we go. Look at that. And if we hit the little plus, it's rejected. It's no longer VA approved. It used to be, it's only FHA approved. So in Vacaville, condos, it appears as though there is only one FHA approved condo community and 0 VA approved communities. And the reason that they get approved or don't get approved is they have to have a limited number of rental units, of non-owner occupied units, as well as like they have to have a certain amount of reserves in their account. And there's like all these restrictions to it. And so it's kind of, there's a lot of hoops to jump through that way. Oops. So that's why. So it appears as though this other one is not. And just because they don't show up here doesn't mean they are, right? That's not a good indicator of whether it's a townhome or not, because the townhomes don't have to go through the approval process. So just because it's not on there, but again, this seems like it is a condo. Hold on, we're just gonna try one more time. Searching all of Solano County. I know it really wants a name or something. All right, so there you go. It won't just blanket pull them up. So you've got to have a condo name to put in there. So, all right, back to what we were at, but there's where you would go to search. There's one for FHA, which is the entp.hud.gov, or you've got the lgy.va.gov for FHA or VA. Conventional, usually you can do any condo community with, as well as any townhome. And again, you like the townhomes, you can usually do FHA or VA on those as well. Lenders don't generally have a list. They do the same thing we do. There's nothing special. So just know that. And you can always ask your lender, but I feel like every time I ask the lender, a lot of times they're like, oh, I don't know, I have to look it up and get back to you. I was like, I could have done that. So most of the time they don't know. And then sometimes what I do too is I'll pull up others. If I'm really like, I think this is a townhome, I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty confident, I'll go back up and do the map search and pull just that community and go back in the closed sales, because on the closed sales, it tells you what kind of loans people had. And I'll go back and see if I find any FHA or VA loans to make sure that I think it'll go through. There you go. All right. So from here, you can do lots of different things in order to set up these showings. We have these 7 properties that my buyer wants to see. They're between 350,000 and 985,000. So wide price range for my buyer. I checked the little box. So you can do lots of things, right? So I checked the little box here. We can go to map now if we wanted to. And then what we do is all those are going to show up as checked. If you go to more, we can go to routing and go routing and hit add checked. And now all those properties are going to be added to that box. From there, if you wanted to, you could hit get directions, which is going to open up Google Maps for you.
I looked at my phone the other day.
And then it's going to set them up. And from here, you can drag them around to a different order. Right. So if we're looking at it here, it's got us starting at Mariposa, which actually isn't such a bad start point, and then it's got us going to Eastwood and then Elizabeth. So far, so good. We're pretty good. I may go instead of Hillcrest because I think this is where it's going next. I may go, hey, we should hit Acorn, and it'll update my little line. And then we should probably go Hemlock. And then we should probably go, I feel like Marco. Where's Marco? Oh, it is. All right. Hemlock and then Marco. And then end over there at Hillcrest. Ta-da, look at that. Now I'm making a nice solid straight line, which brings me joy and happiness.
Yes. That's why I made it the first time. I was like, how do I do it? I was driving and I'm like, how do I do this? That was
On your
annoying.
Google Maps on your phone, you
Yeah.
can drag and reorder
Yeah.
them too. So let's say that we're like, cool, this is the order that we're going to show them in. Now I'm going to send these directions to my phone because from my phone, I can plug it into my car and now I've got directions. And once we go to the first property, it'll then be like, do you want to continue on? And you say yes. And then it like automatically pulls up directions to the next property. So we just hit send directions. I'm already in here. So I just be like, text it. Now I'm going to get a text message with these directions on there. So now that I have the order, this is, in my opinion, is the easiest way to do it. If we try to do it on berries, you can reorder the routing, but it doesn't really show you. You've got to click, and then when you click, then routing disappears, and you're like, oh, that's Hillcrest. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna go back to routing. I want to see that one last, right? So we're gonna like drag it down here to the last. But what I could do now, because I have this, is I can pull this little tabby off, make it its own little window, and then I can shrink it down. And then I can take this window and shrink it down. Or if I had two screens, I could put one on one screen and one on the other screen.
Not
and
there yet. Amy. We're
I'm-
just starting. with
I know.
things later.
And then I can be like, okay, we're gonna go see Mariposa and then Eastwood and then
How did you do those ones on Google, the one on the right-hand side, when you pulled up the maps and all those addresses?
yeah. So I just hit get directions here from Barry,
Oh, okay,
which
gotcha.
automatically opened up the Google Maps.
got it.
And it does the same on the phone too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Elizabeth, Acorn, Hemlock, Marco, and then Hillcrest. All right. So that's another way to do it here in routing. And then from here, I don't know what you would do. Just take it to Google Maps. All right. But the other option that you have here is we can have these checked and hit schedule showings. Now oh, it blocked my pop-up. How rude. Always allow. Let's try this again.
How much time do you allot per showing?
So that all
45 minutes, hour,
no. So
more or less?
about 20 minutes. So I usually figure we're gonna, for most normal size properties, we're gonna be in and out of that property in 15 minutes. So 15 plus drive time is about 20 minutes. And I'll show you how I set that up here in a minute. So the other option is, and I would have gone through just like I did on them originally and probably made a little list and been like, put little check boxes like go, call agent, right? I would have made little notes, showing time. That being said, we can still plug them all into here. This one's kind of a good option. It'll have you log in. You hit add to showing cart. This one, let's say we were going to show these properties tomorrow. If you had a buyer, you could put in your buyer in here. We could hit add new, test buyer. Then you have record of who you showed what. Hit create. Okay. Now it's going to add all these properties in here. Now remember that several of these were not through showing time, right? There's only limited ones that were showing time. This one was actually like no go and show. So we're just gonna go look at the lot of that one. And then I think these were probably the other, no. One was Marco, so it's not in here. Anyways, from here, this one, you can go smart routes here at the bottom. So if you want to figure out the route without having to draw things around, we can go smart route. And it's going to put them in order in a smart way.
Doesn't match up. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's a little different,
Oh,
I think. Yeah, it's a little different. So they have you going, oh, sorry, I can't control my map. Mainly because I'm technology illiterate, but we won't point that out. Okay, come over here, map. Right there. And then we're gonna zoom in. So it has us going, it's not too bad. It has us going, you know, 1 and then 2 and then coming over here and then going up here and coming back down and over. So, you know, it's a good way. So this would be one way that you could then go back and be like, hey, now I'm going to drag and drop my Google ones, right? For the ones, and it tells you the distance, which is kind of cool between each one. So it allows you this going through showing time, even if you're not requesting all the showings through showing time, gives you a really good way to kind of set it up and judge how long it's going to take you to get from one property to another. This is really handy, especially like I've been showing properties, or I was, thank goodness I'm not anymore, up in like the Auburn area and Plumas Lakes and like multiple communities where it was going to take us like 20 minutes between properties. This was a really good way to like judge the route. You can get it from here, but it's just a little bit more difficult to pull that data and really nail it down. So this is kind of a nice way to do that. So from here, I could pick a time. So I'd be like, pick a time. We're going to start showing time live video listing. Oh, this is just, I don't even think it was set up, but just for kicks, I'm just going to go in there and plug time. So let's say that my first showing was going to be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I would go 2 to 2:15 for my appointment time slot. Just so everybody knows, I always go like 30 minutes, even though I think it's only going to take us 15 minutes. And sometimes with a buyer, buyers are different. So on average, it takes an average buyer 15 minutes to get through a property. I've shown properties to buyers that it takes less than 5 minutes to get through a property. And I've shown properties to buyers that it takes them 40 minutes on every single property. Okay, so you want to adjust accordingly.
Yeah, the notepad, they're like, and there was a crack there.
Yeah. Sam, you had a question.
Yes. Do you print out client sheets and hand them all to them when you see them? So like here you give them 7 sheets, or do you not mess with that?
When I'm being a really responsible buyer's agent, yes, I would print up some sort of information on each property that I could hand them as we get to there, or the list of
Okay.
here's the order that we're going to go to them in, like stapled together so that they know when they get in their car where we're headed next.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Something to take notes on.
Something to take notes on. And yeah, putting together like a little questionnaire I did have for a while. Like I'd give them a clipboard with all the listing and then like a little questionnaire so they could rate the property as they walk through it, because they do all start to blend together as you, especially if you're seeing like 7
Yeah, all in
properties.
one day.
Yeah, it's one thing to see 3, it's another thing to see 7. It's just all gonna start blending together at some point. So I'm not saying don't go show 7, because I absolutely would, but I'm just saying we just need to make sure that we're talking about each property as we're walking through it. And usually I'll talk about the last property, like we'll have a conversation a little bit about the property while we're there, but normally once we hit the next property, then we're going to kind of talk about the last property, because they've had time to think about it and process what they really thought of that property while they're in the car.
Do you try to stick to like 4 properties a showing?
I'll go see whatever they want to see.
Okay.
I've shown like 15.
Oh my goodness.
Get her done.
Back in the day when everything was short sales and foreclosures, like everything was on the market. There was, you know, you go see 15 properties today, you've seen a quarter of what's on the market in
Full
Vacaville.
inventory. It's bad. Oh my gosh, it's horrible.
but back in the day, there was 300 properties on the market in Vacaville. Seeing 15 was just like par for the course.
Mhm. Jeez.
So here I would schedule 30 minutes and hit save. Right. So now, and then from this one, now remember, I'm going to say, hey, it really takes me about 15 minutes. So 2 to 2:15, about 5 minutes travel time. So this one, I'm really thinking I'm going to hit there about 2:20. Okay. When I go to set up the time, when I'm thinking the time, or when I'm calling the agent to give them a time, I'm going to say, hey, we're going to be there sometime between 2:15 and 2:45. Right? Again, I really think we're gonna hit there about 2:20, but this, if my buyer's a little slow, if we're a little fast, this covers us both ways and hit save. So, and you can do this on showing time, or a lot of times I'll just do it on a piece of paper. Here's kind of nice because it gives you the digital format. Again, so if I'm thinking, okay, we were at 2 and then 2:20, now I'm gonna hit this one at like 2:40. So I'm gonna set up my showing time appointment or my scheduled appointment from 2:30 to 3 o'clock. And hit save. And again, if you don't have an average buyer, if they're really fast or if they're super slow, as you see a couple properties with them and you kind of feel out how they look at properties, you may be like, okay, I need to plan for like a full 30 minutes. So then the first one may be like at 2, the second one will be at 3 or at 2:30. I'm still probably going to try to overlap just a little bit in case we move a little faster or in case we move a little slower. So I may schedule like a 45-minute block. All right, so that one was, we got 2:20, 2:40. Now we're at 3 o'clock. So that one I'm probably gonna schedule, we're gonna go 2:45 to 3:15. Oops.
Why did you only give you 2 options then?
That one's actually set up through showing time,
Oh, okay.
and she's limited you to a 30-minute showing
Got it,
window. You
okay.
can't book longer than 30. So once I picked the start time of 2:45, my options were 3 or 3:15.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
All right, so we had 2 o'clock, 2:20, 2:40, 3 o'clock. Now we're looking at like 3:20. So I'm going to set this one up at 3:15 to 3:45. And then 3:20, we're looking at 3:40. So I'm going to go 3. So I usually backtrack just a little bit and then go on the further side.
So now that one that had like that 2-hour ahead thing, like you would call that before you started doing this to see, like, you know what I mean?
If I was trying to set the showing up for today,
Yeah.
I would still like factor it into where it was going to be in my showing
Got it,
schedule.
okay.
And then I would call them as well as do the request.
Okay.
But if I was setting it up for tomorrow, I would just plug it away.
Got
Yeah.
it, okay.
All right. So here I've set up all my showings with showing time. Again, I'm not going to make all these requests through here. This is not, oh, so this would be like, these are not accepting online requests. So I may go ahead and plug it in there and be like, oh, it's requested. Maybe I'm going to text her, right? I'm going to put my request through. Oh, Elizabeth. Yeah, I'm just going to put cancel there. What?
This is gonna take some practice. This is complicated.
Yeah, so this is, I normally do it on paper. Just because even now, like I still will like take my little sticky note and like write down the houses we're gonna see once I figure out the order on like Google Maps. And then I'm gonna write like, okay, I think I'm gonna hit this one at 2, at 2:20, at 2:40, at 3 o'clock, at 3:20, at 3:40. Now I've kind of got my times, and now I'm gonna adjust when I make my request, like normally to the nearest like 15-minute increment. So if we're gonna hit it at 2:20, I'm gonna request 2:15 to 2:30 or 2:45, right? If I'm gonna hit it at 2:30, I may still make that request from 2:15 to 2:45, because that way I know that I'm covered whenever I show up. And if another agent shows up because they had an appointment at 2:45, they can just wait until I'm done.
I have the time.
Yeah, by looking at this when you were doing this, I'm like, this seems like it's taking like longer than if you did just like one each, like pull up the house and then just do showing time for that one. But like you said, like writing it down on a piece of paper in the order you want and then going in probably seems quicker
Yeah.
than putting them all together at once.
Yeah, I mean, here it just allows you to kind of route it. It allows you to put all your times. You're like, okay, this all makes sense. This works. And then all you have to do once you've done this then is hit send requests. And then you just need to make sure you've noted like the ones that aren't going to do through showing time. You've got to call and follow up with those agents. or text those agents and be like, hey, can I show it at this time? But this is a decent way to like get it out of your brain if you didn't want to like write it down on paper, if you're trying to save trees. I usually will take my sticky note, or I would take this and like print this, even if it was just a screenshot, or take my sticky note and bring it with me in the car and stick it to my dashboard. So if we're running ahead of schedule or running behind, I have a list of when we were supposed to hit which property and what I scheduled those appointments for, and whether I heard back from the agent or not. Right, I like keep track of it all on my sticky.
Yeah.
So that if we're running behind or something, I can call and say, hey, we're running a little bit behind. I'm really sorry. I know we made the appointment for 2:30, but, or, 2:30 to 3, but it looks like we're not gonna hit there until like 3 o'clock, like on the nose. Like, I'm really sorry. We'll, get through and get it seen fast or whatever, but I will send them a little text message. Or if we're way ahead of time, because my client only takes 3 minutes to see each property, now I can be like, hey, we're running a little ahead of schedule. Is that okay? We'll be
Yeah.
there in 5 minutes if that works.
Waiting. I
Yeah,
like this because like I said, if you go in individually, then you might be going like a ping pong all back and forth all over town versus like being able to see, like,
See.
I'm gonna go in a,
and it'll smart route it for you, so
Yeah.
you don't have to guess. It'll route it. So this is kind of a fun way to set it up. And then I might go back from here if I hadn't made the list. So usually what I do, what my process would be I would, go to each listing and be like, 612 Hillcrest. I would, just for the record, make sure you write this little thing down here, the little street, like circle, street, road, because sometimes I forget. And then there's like 612 Hillcrest Drive and 612 Hillcrest Circle. And then I'm like, I don't know which one I'm
Oh,
going to.
scroll in the MLS real quick, kind of pull it up
Yeah.
while you're driving.
Because I'm pulling up like directions. So I'd be like showing time. And then the next one I'd be like text agent with the phone number. And the next one I'd be right. So I make my little notes on my sticky from this screen here. Now showing time, right? So this, you can set it up through here, which I like it because you can like brain dump on here basically, even if you don't put the request through. And then maybe the ones like we knew that Hemlock. So once I've like done all this, I've got my screenshot printed, I'm ready to go. I feel really good about my times. I've made the requests. Then I can come in here and be like, hey, this one's confirmed. This one texted me back and said, I'm good to go. This one, I know we can show here just the, the vacant land or whatever. So we're good there. And then these other 4, I know Hillcrest was Hemlock. I don't remember what the showing instructions were for Hemlock. I think it was like text agent. Yeah. So the ones that are showing time, maybe once I set this up, I'm just going to leave those on so I can go in there and be like, oh, we're not going to go see. We're going to remove this stop. I would pull the ones off that didn't want showing time made. Is it bumping all my appointment times? Probably. Oh no, it's leaving them all there. Fabulous. All right, so maybe it was just Mariposa and Hillcrest that went through showing time. Once we delete the ones out, then I can go in there. Oops. And hit send requests through, which would then send it to those agents if those were the ones that were showing time only. And then I've sent all my requests through at the same time.
Got it. So all the ones that didn't have the drop down, those ones are the ones that weren't. All the rest of them were all through showtime.
So the ones with drop downs, I don't think they were, they just didn't go in there and block it.
Oh, okay. got
So,
it. Okay.
so it's some of them, if they had a drop down, then it's set up in here that they're not doing showing time,
Got it.
right?
But, like,
Not
the next one
accepting.
down.
But this one was,
Okay.
but just because, but like that one on Hemlock showed up as not yet requested, but they wanted you to text the agent.
Okay. Okay.
And it showed up just like Hillcrest did. So it's not always a good
Got it.
indicator. This here shows your availability for the property. So here's the appointment that we requested. They've got like availability set up. right, after 8 AM and before. So if there was other appointments booked, it would show up as unavailable.
Got it. Okay.
This one's not in here, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything set up.
Plus the time slot thing would be like grayed out, right? So we wouldn't be
Yep.
able to have the option at all. Okay.
Yep.
So after showing time, like after you use it, like you'll get an email that says like they want like feedback. I mean, do we really even have to fill that out?
Yeah, absolutely. Listing agents love feedback. You become their best friends, and especially in showing time, because showing time automatically solicits you for feedback. And it's like 5 questions, like what did your clients think of the property? Are they interested? How is the price? And then as a listing agent, I can take that feedback that you shared and I can share it directly with my clients. So it makes it really easy for me as the listing agent to get my buyer or get my sellers some feedback from buyer's agents. So I would absolutely recommend taking the 2 seconds it takes to
And
answer
it's
those
okay to be
questions.
brutally honest. This way
Please.
you're like, there was that huge crack. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
be brutally honest.
Got it.
My buyers were really scared of the crack in the sunroom, or the house reeked of pet smell, right? Like, please be honest, because that's the only way that they're going to be able, like, we may have told our sellers, like, that crack's really scary and we should probably get it fixed, or get a report that states that there's nothing foundationally going on. And they're like, no, it's not that important. But if we get 4 or 5 feedbacks that, hey, this was a big deal to my buyers, then I'd be like, see, seller, like, we really need to have this addressed, right? And then I can go back to those agents and be like, hey, just so you know, we had Bay Area Underpinning come out and look at the property. There's nothing foundationally going on. It's just a normal stress crack. Here's the report, and send it over to them. So their buyers that maybe would have written on that house, had that crack not been there, now I can go back and be like, hey, we remedied that. Okay. All right. So if you didn't do it this way, and let's say it was a showing time, maybe you looked up the property, maybe we looked up 612 Hillcrest, and you were like, oh, that's because I didn't open this one. All right, hold on. We're going to close out of that one. All right. So maybe we looked up, I don't know what my password is. All right. If we just log into showing time, it's showingti.me is the website to get to showing time. Once you've been in their system, it tracks you. They've got your license number and stuff, right? So it just allows you to verify appointments. So maybe I want to set up a showing. We can just go in here to showings and go make a new request. You can also call in. It's 1-800-SHOWING. They're going to pick up the phone and be like, oh, is this Anastasia Minor, is your license number, blah, 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 blah. You're gonna be like, yes, it is. And be like, perfect. What were you wanting to do? And you're like, I want to schedule a showing at 612 Hillcrest Circle in Vacaville. They're going to pull it up and be like, perfect. I'm going to put your request in. Would you like your confirmation via phone or text? Right. And then they'll send you a confirmation. So let's say if I was going to do it online, I'm just going to go 612 Hillcrest. Click on it once it comes up. And then you can just go, you can either add it to a cart if you're setting up multiple showings, or just schedule a single showing. Here's the window. So you may be like, hey, we want tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Keep in mind that it puts your start time up here. You're going to see this 2:30 and be like, no, I wanted 2 o'clock. And you're going to be like, back. And you're going to be like, 2 o'clock. You'd be like, still says 2:30. Why won't it say 2 o'clock? And you're going to get out here and you're like, now I'm at 2:40. Oh man, I just can't get it. Now I'm up here. Well, this is actually the start time up here. So just a heads up, it will happen to you. I'm just trying to prevent it from causing frustration. Appointment showing.
All in time.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is the end time. This allows you, like right now it's got a 30-minute, maybe I only need a 15-minute, so you can adjust that. And then you can hit request appointment. This will go directly to the listing agent. For me, like I usually just pass it, it goes direct to my sellers. My sellers are the ones that approve or deny. Okay, so that's how you would schedule a showing through showing time. Other than that, you guys all know how to use your phones. You would text the request through. And then, like I said, I usually give like 20 minutes from property to property for the start time. And then I ask for a 30-minute window that overlaps that 20-minute window. If that makes sense. Any questions?
Hold on one second. If Amy, I'm looking at mine on the website, I need to change my contact phone number. Do I have to do that online or because it won't let me do it on the phone app?
You probably need to log in online,
Okay,
and then you would click on your information here, and that's where you would set it up.
okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
I don't have a question, but for any agent who's listing a property here to, currently or moving forward, the showing time is excellent for keeping you organized and tracking of time and who's been in and out. I highly recommend it, even though
And
some
it-
agents don't use it.
Yeah, and if you set your, some agents don't use it because it's connected to Zillow. If you set your sellers up with it, then they can open up the app. It's a separate app. So there's a showing time app, and then there's like, I don't remember what it's called, the client version of it, but it keeps track of their calendar. So they can pull it up at the beginning of the day and be like, here's my showings today that we have scheduled so far. So it's really cool. And they can either accept or deny showings. And if they deny it, they can be like, hey, can you do 3 o'clock instead of 2:30? So it's a really neat product that's available to us. It works really well. It automatically solicits the agents for feedback. So it's just, it makes my life easier. I can like go ride a horse and not have to worry about scheduling showings on my listings, because we all know that's my goal.
We have our priorities.
We have
Yes.
priorities.
Excellent goal.
Obviously not right now, but if we could do like how you set that up as a listing agent for, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, that would be cool.
Yeah.
And that would be nice to be able to put in, like, that's something you're gonna have for them, but, I mean.
The listing
Yeah.
side.
Mhm.
If I can say too, it will kind of overwhelm you though, because you'll get a phone call and a text message.
You can set it up to not do that.
Oh, you can? Oh, okay, okay. Because that automated phone call can
Yeah.
drive you a little batsy.
It will drive you batsy, not a little, it'll just drive you batsy. All right. Fabulous. Any other questions about setting up showings?
Useful tool.
Useful tool. And then maybe this evening or Thursday, maybe we'll dive in a little further, or maybe tomorrow during our check-in, I'll answer any questions people have. And then with the time left over, we'll talk about actually like showing the properties. Like, what does that look like? What's your goal and objective? And how do you actually show properties? Okay. Fabulous. All right, everybody have a fabulous day. Stay out of
Thank
trouble.
you. You too.
Go set an appointment.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.